So today we're going to be installing a Traxxas Titan 12-turn 540 motor into a Redcat transmission for a Redcat Everest 10. So typically the stock motor is this Redcat, but the issues that we're running into is that the Traxxas motor, the holes don't line up so that you can't put a bigger pinion on it. And the advantage of putting a Traxxas Titan 12-turn motor is that it could be faster and more torquey than the stock Redcat motor. So what we have to do to fit this Traxxas Titan motor on here is we have to widen up this bottom part of the motor mount as well as this part up here. So that's what we're going to be doing. The tool we're going to use to be cutting this or grinding this a little bit down is this Dremel with the sanding disc on it. And what we're going to do is try to sand this part down a little bit wider so that we can fit this motor in there and we'll have a little bit more clearance. After I widen this part of the motor mount, it's time to make this part a little bit wider so that we have some clearance for the pinion so that we can bring it more back. After widening this part of the motor mount as well as cutting this bottom piece, now I'm going to test fit to make sure that this set screw hole and this set screw line up. So I'm just going to be putting one of the set screws just to test fit it, as well as this one. So after making sure that this set screw fits and this set screw fits with the holes that we cut out and that this pinion meshes perfectly, I'm going to go ahead and put the set screw on the pinion with a little bit of Loctite so that it doesn't back out through vibrations of crawling. So now what we're using this Duratrax thread locker on the set screws so that it doesn't back out through vibrations on a rock crawler. After installing some thread locker, now we're going to put the pinion on the motor. The next step of this process is to reinstall these 3 screws to hold down the spur gear. The next step of the process is to reinstall the transmission to the skid plate and then install it on the Redcat vehicle. First step is to install this skid plate onto the transmission. There's 4 holes here and 4 holes here. So I'm just going to line those up and then put the screws. One of the problems that we're running into after trying to install this Traxxas motor in a Redcat crawler is that since we moved the motor back, when trying to install it onto this vehicle, it's hitting right here. To reinstall this, we have to cut this nub and we have to cut this nub so that we could install this motor a little bit more forward to give us a little bit more clearance on this side. Alright, so now we're going to attach the center drive shaft. So the next step is to drill out this first nub as well as the other side so that we could put the another screw as well as this link in the front. Next step is to reinstall the center drive shafts. After installing these linkages, now we're just going to roll it back and forth, make sure that everything's clearing, nothing's hitting. Now it's time to plug in the ESC motor wires to the actual motor. Black on black and red on red. Now we're just gonna manage these cables so that they don't get in the way when we're crawling. And I'm just running up through here. The motor's down here, the two wires are coming up through here, and then I'm just gonna put a zip tie up front. So this is going to be the first test after installing the Traxxas motor. So now I'm plugging in the battery, turn it on, turn on my controller, make sure I have steering, make sure I have some throttle. So now we're going to go ahead and put it on the ground to see if we see a difference. This is the stock Redcat Everest 10 with the stock servo, stock motor. This is an upgraded Redcat Everest 10 with a Traxxas 550 12-turn Titan motor. Both of them on the count of 3 are going to go full throttle. 1, 2, 3. This Redcat with the new Traxxas motor is a lot faster. It is a nice, inexpensive upgrade, and it's still able to crawl very, very well.